sales, how much money you pocketed kind of, like profit?
What's your profit over sales expenses?
So is your income statement,
Sales minus are your
Expenses.
profit and then expenses.
does it always,
Cost of merchandise sold at the beginning and the end of the month, and expenses, revenue.
and your
Because your
expenses?
sales is 100% of your revenue, and that's how you define your component percentages.
How are you pulling all these words up there?
I'm in accounting, dude.
Oh, that's accounting?
We've
So,
done it like 400 times.
you should be good at this, huh?
Too easy, Mr.
Really?
Guy. You know who I am?
Yeah, that's why.
We do.
If
We
you
do.
saw it to class, maybe you would know.
Every time you were in.
We have, what, 14 days together and we'll hopefully see each
I'll
other
be
second.
here every day. I'll be here every day because this is what I know.
I'd make a bet
Every
on that.
time he was in Drakeman's, I'd see him working on a latest accounting assignment.
Dude, I hate
I don't wish I could.
You can get it done during class, you just choose to talk instead.
Yeah.
Okay, so income statement shows how much money, oh, we got an O in there, zero,
Mooney.
is earned and spent during a certain period of time. So usually when do we do an income statement?
At the end of the year.
Or
End of the year?
Or end of the
End of the
quarter.
day.
End of the physical period.
A what period?
End of the
Fiscal
physical period.
period.
Not the physical,
Banking.
Fiscal. It's-
fiscal.
Oh yeah, fiscal period.
End of the fiscal period.
I still know what I'm talking about.
Okay, so you can kind of do this whenever you wanted to though, realistically,
Ours
right?
happens every day.
You can do it every day, you can do it monthly, you can do it, you know, whatever you actually wanted to do, right? So other people call this a profit or a loss statement. If more money is earned than spent, we make a profit, right? And obviously as a business, that's our goal. Are we always gonna make a profit? Are we always gonna make a profit every quarter?
Might have to spend more in order to get.
Okay, so we might have to look at this income statement. It's probably not good just to do it once a year, right?
You don't know.
Unless what? Unless you're one of those businesses that's been in business for so long that your stuff just, it's routine and you know it's gonna work out. Those would be what right now? What's a company that you could probably,
Oreos.
Oreos? Okay, maybe.
Yeah.
Walmart maybe. McDonald's maybe. Coke
Who
maybe.
did that thing?
Right? So those would be companies that you're probably going to, because everything's going to be pretty stable. But if you noticed, I don't know if you buy a lot of pop, but during the pandemic, Coke was a lot higher than Pepsi products.
I noticed.
Did you notice that?
Because they didn't get a lot?
Well, I don't know. So they probably either had problems
Pepsi's better.
getting their, aluminum or whatever. Okay. Now, when I say it was a lot more expensive, I'm saying a case of it was $10.25 compared to $9.45. Basically the exact same thing, and being 85 cents difference is quite a bit, right?
Hey, what you get for them?
Is it?
Not at all.
No.
Pepsi's so much better.
Pepsi has Mountain Dew and Dr. Pepper, but Coke is lucky because they have Sprite. So your miss sucks.
No, I just go to a diner or something, I just order a drink, no matter what it is.
Mr. Pibb's not bad.
I
don't like
I'd rather have Dr. Pepper than Mr. Pibb. I'd be fine.
I'm not talking
But
about.
I would way much rather have Mountain Dew than Mount Hill.
Oh yeah, dude. Mellow Yellow is so bad.
I like Mellow Pop.
Mellow Yellow is like water.
I don't like Pepsi.
And like Coca-Cola over Pepsi, you're taking Coke.
I'd rather.
No, give me that Pepsi.
You
I'd
would?
rather, 9 out of
That
10
Pepsi.
times I'm taking it. Unless it's cherry Pepsi.
And I would definitely rather have Diet Coke than Diet Pepsi.
They're both
Nothing
just,
diet.
they're
Nothing
both, just just bad on your teeth no matter what. They're terrible.
Yeah, but when I drink a can of Coke, it literally feels like my teeth are
And I'm
just
not
salt.
thinking about my enamel on my teeth.
Think about how it hurts,
Do you not feel like,
I feel
No.
my teeth like acidic.
it's just sticky on your teeth?
It's like chocolate.
How did we get onto this subject? Anyway, we were talking about Coke. Okay, so obviously, if you spend more than you earn, it's a loss. So why would a company have to spend more than they earned?
So you re-up their supplies.
Okay,
Not enough sales.
advertising maybe. When is your income statement more of a possibility of being a loss than a profit?
When you got John, you know.
Say what?
And it's supposed to be what?
When is your income statement a real possibility of being a loss
Oh, at the beginning.
at the beginning?
Because
Why?
you haven't had as much sales that you would have at the end.
Or
You
what else?
had to resupply before you had any stuff sent out.
Or maybe I had to buy all my stuff, right?
Yeah.
Whatever company that I'm gonna try to run, if I'm making something, maybe I had to buy all my saws and all my whatevers, right? So naturally at the end, even if I have a great year, I'm probably not gonna break even, right? And then other times that we would be under is what? Well, maybe we went in that 10-year where we were pretty consistent, but then all of a sudden we figured out, well, now we have to, in this pandemic, we have to spend more for transportation, for whatever, supplies. And so then we're going to then take a little time to what? Well, we're going to stop and we're going to just figure out ways that we can up it, right? Get back to where we were. So you might have to take some of those, you might have to take one quarter and regroup a little bit and try to change your ways. You would encourage your employees not to sell the guy his own shoes back. Right?
Yeah.
Did we get anywhere with that? No. No? Okay.
It's hardcore from this.
I just keep a bat by the register now.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. Sections of our income statement. We have our revenue. What's our revenue?
Total
Sales.
sales.
Amount of sales minus the sales returns and allowances. What are returns and allowances?
How much it costs to
How much it costs to make it. Okay.
Allowance.
So we're going to subtract the two. Total amount sold minus the sales. Cost of goods sold. The amount of inventory you start out with at the beginning of the period. So you would automatically know where you started from. Plus any purchases of new goods or goods manufactured. So you might have to you might make your own stuff, but you also might just bring it all in, right? So again, a Walmart doesn't make all their stuff. They bring a lot of that stuff in from a different company. So that's still minus your ending inventory. So you're thinking about the amount that you have at the end, right, of that inventory. For retailers, when they purchase merchandise, so again, you got to think about, are you a retailer or are you a manufacturer? Then you're kind of thinking about it in a little different way, right? If I'm the manufacturer, if I'm making the stuff and then shipping it to Walmart, my income statement's going to look a little different, right? Because my product's actually going out, but that's a good thing. I want my product to go out. And then I don't care, well, I probably do care on the backside if Walmart sells that, because if they don't sell it, they're probably not going to call me back to send it again, right? So I do care, but in a sense, it's kind of off my books. I'm not worried about it as much. Remember, for a manufacturer, we're talking about the prime cost, which is the sum of your raw materials and your direct labor costs. Remember our raw materials? That's what we're going to use to make those things. So I'd have my wood and my screws and nails or whatever it happens to be. And then my direct labor costs are those people that are putting it together or putting it in a box or whatever it happens to be, right? So my gross profit in a sense is kind of like when we were talking about our check, right? You're going to take your net sales minus the cost of goods sold. So in a sense, you're taking your grand total that your check says and you're subtracting out your taxes when we do it for ourselves. For your company, you're doing your net sales minus the cost of goods sold, right? And then your operating expenses, you got to take them into consideration. So what are expenses to operate? Electricity.
Machine costs.
Okay, maybe,
Repairs.
right? Repairs, you always got to have some kind of maintenance.
Salaries.
Salaries,
rent.
rent.
Overhead, or is that?
What?
Never mind.
If I own the property or own the
Insurance
stuff,
expenses.
we'd have insurance either way, right? Renting or if we own it.
Taxes.
taxes. But if I own the, let's say printing press or whatever, what else do I have to think about?
Shipping.
Supplies.
No, if my machine in my building.
Maintenance,
Maintenance, but then what do I calculate no matter what?
electricity, power.
Oh, I know what depreciation.
Depreciation, right? Right? I'm always talking about depreciation, right? No matter what, there's gotta be some kind of depreciation. What else?
Hold on. Would a person's value over time depreciate or increase?
Depends. I would say depends.
A person.
You
Because you think about it, if you're,
Retirement account's always got a good retirement.
but I would say it depends on how you're looking at it too. Are you talking about that person's ability or knowledge?
They're getting older, wiser, and blah, 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 but they're getting weaker, slower, and.
So it depends on the work.
So it depends on work, right?
Construction.
Construction, you probably don't want a bunch of 85-year-old dudes on your crew,
All around cinder blocks.
right? Okay, but at the same time, you might want that guy to run that crew, right? Now, can he handle the heat and that kind of stuff? Who knows? But at least his knowledge is phenomenal, right? Okay, so that person that's working on a line and doesn't have to really do a whole lot, and if they could actually sit in a chair and do their thing, could they get by? I don't know. But in certain things, it might deteriorate their hands, right? They have arthritis so bad that they can't pick up a can or whatever. So I don't know, I don't think you necessarily count people as depreciation, but in a sense, you got to think about that, right? Do you want a bunch of 18-year-old kids always on your line?
No.
Probably not, right? If you had 100 people working for you, and the company that had 100 18-year-olds versus a company that had 135-year-olds and a company of 155-year-olds, there'd be a drastic amount of production in between those three categories, weren't there? Which one are you taking?
Well, if you give the 18-year-olds bags,
35.
I'm taking the 18-year-olds.
You are? You give them bags, each one?
Yeah, I give them super
I'm taking the 18-year-olds.
No.
Same.
Because,
Kirby went, he was 19 well, so now, like, he's a line operator, so he's telling the old people what to do.
right, but was he surrounded by a bunch of 18, 19-year-old kids at that time?
That's very true, no.
No, right? So he had to learn that process from somebody. In all honesty, I'm taking that crew of 35-year-olds, right? Because they're probably in the prime of their
Age.
physical abilities, and they've had enough time to learn,
Well,
and they're probably not burned out of it yet.
Developed.
when I was getting trained at the parlor back 3 years ago, it was all
Okay.
18-year-olds. And we
Back in
won,
the day.
like, Iowa Tourism Award, like, 3 years in a row, for all young kids, but.
That's how
It's
Jensen
just
says.
nice.
Okay?
Not for
And,
like, that's.
but how many people in one shift?
Like a weeknight, like there's 5 of us.
And would all those people be under 20?
Kids.
They
All
would?
kinds of kids. The only time I
Even
worked-
whoever's in charge?
My boss lady's probably getting close to 60, Brenda, just like my second grandma, but then our other boss lady's at 40, so 2 people in like head charge are
And are they there?
weekends. And
But not during the
during the weekday, but not at weeknights, so. And we have like older ladies working weekdays, like they're working that, but, you know,
How much older puppy?
grandmas, I don't know.
Okay. So there's
So it's like.
probably ways of getting around it.
Yeah, but it depends on the business, like, they also.
Right.
Jensen, you used to
Well,
be pretty young, but now.
A lot of the old people that work at Fairway, I know more than them and I'm faster than them.
True.
Because they
But a
just
lot,
started working there.
but a lot of those old people are there because they want a job or they're bored, right? So is there anybody at Fairway that's in
Been there
their
for a long time, yeah.
30s or 40s that
Oh, 30s, 40s?
50s that would have been there for 20, 30 years?
Probably the meat people, the
Oh,
deli.
guys, yeah, I guess.
Okay. So there's the other end of the spectrum though, right? You got to think about it. You go into a lot of fast food restaurants right now, and who runs them?
The younger eating.
Either the young or the really old,
Yeah,
right?
it's not really-
Because one, the really old are figuring out what?
They need more money.
They need more money because Social Security stinks, so they gotta find something, or they're just plain bored, right? Okay? So you gotta think about that. That's
Never had a job, good time.
right. Okay? So you gotta think about that. And some of those older people, especially older ladies, they might not have had an opportunity to have a job when they were young. You know, we're on that brink right now, right? Where the laws and all that way back then were, still a little sketchy for women. So you gotta think about those kind of things too, okay? So, what else? Operating costs, that's where we were, right? Anything else we didn't mention up there? Okay, so if you look at this here, notice how we're going to go through these things. Net sales was A. And so the little letters along the way kind of help you out if you need a little help. And I believe they explain all those letters as we went through, okay? So notice your gross profit and sales, and then your operating expenses would have a grand total. So we had salaries, I think Carson mentioned that, and all the other ones, okay? Utilities, obviously then you just would know what your utilities are made of, meaning in this case, notice utilities means gas, electricity, TV, cable, and online services. So maybe you have, if you're, again, this is totally how you want to set up your income statement. Maybe you want to break the utilities into each one of those categories. I don't know. Maybe you just want to group them all into one. Okay? So, and then you're going to try to figure out your net income or your net loss. So, if you kind of go through this, they'll start working through all this. But notice your net sales, okay? Less your returns, get you your net sales, and then you can go through and find your gross profit on sales. So again, you got to work out your inventory that you had or that you brought in, plus what you have left over. And whatever's left over, then you're going to subtract the two, and your grand total would get you your gross profit on sales. And then you take that and subtract out your total operating expenses, and then way down at net income, letter E, you hope that that's a positive number. But again, we've kind of talked about certain times that might not necessarily happen, right? So, let's look at letter A. In letter A, it says the Cycle Shop sales for the first quarter of the year were $307,892. So we're not looking at the tables or anything. We're just basically going through what they went through here. Sales, returns, and allowances for the quarter were 14,000. So if we have returns or allowances, what do we do with our sales? Subtract them. So my net sales was whatever. Crestwood Products had sales of $45,000. Sales, returns, and allowances in the same month were $1,100. What were my net sales? I subtract them. Okay. Cost of goods sold then, and right in the middle again, if you needed another, or you can look at the little chart on the other page. So if you like words, it's on page 514. If you like a little chart, it's on 513. But basically, my cost of goods sold is beginning inventory, anything else that I purchased minus my ending inventory. So, letter C. On January 1st, the Shoe Palace had an inventory of merchandise costing $317,000. During the quarter, merchandise costing $219,000 was bought. At the end, they still had $275,000 worth. So what is the cost of goods sold? What two numbers am I adding together? The two first ones, right? The beginning inventory of $317,000 plus my purchases of $219,000 minus my $275,000. Everyone okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So, do we need to do D? Basically the same thing, right? Beginning inventory, cost earnings. So this one's just a little bit more widespread, I would guess. They're talking about January 1st through December 31st. So this one they're doing for a whole year, right? In C, they went from January to March. So what would January to March be considered? January, February, March. 3 months would be a quarter, right?
And
So,
C is the retailer and D is the manufacturer.
okay, and so there's two different, basically it's the same kind of principle, but it's just you thinking of it in a different way. Are you the middleman or are you the end product, right? Gross product then is your net sales minus your cost of goods sold. So E, it says the T's net sales of golf equipment for the year was $589,000. The cost of the goods sold for the same period was $298,000. What was T's gross profit? So basically we're taking net sales minus goods sold, and so these guys made a profit of $291,000. Not too bad, right? In letter F, on July 1st, Robles Metal Products had a beginning inventory of 505. During the quarter, goods costing 290 were manufactured. What do I do with those two numbers? Add them up. The inventory at the end of September was 485. Now what? Subtract. During the quarter, Robles' net sales were 759. What was the cost of goods sold? And then what was the gross profit? So the first one we talked on the way through, and we would have gotten the first answer, right? Add the first two numbers, 505 and 290, subtract 485, and you would have got 311,000, right? Is that what you got there, yeah? Okay, and then we would have taken that and taken 759,000 minus whatever you had for that answer. And your grand total was? 447,900. So again, we're making pretty good bank right now. All right. Okay. So again, that would be a company that's probably pretty set up, pretty stabilized, and they kind of know where they're going to get their stuff and what they have to charge for going out the other end, right? And then obviously net loss or net income goes through the grand total or the entire process. Okay, so turn the page to G. The pet corner had a gross profit of $29,000 in June. It also had these expenses for the month: salary, rent, taxes, utilities, advertising, depreciation, insurance, and other expenses. What were the store's total expenses? And then what was the store's net income or loss? So again, to figure that out, we're going to add up all of our expenses, and then we're going to subtract the two numbers, right? So again, I would always do it in the same order, so you're understanding if it's a positive or a negative, what that means. So to me, I would always do my gross profit minus my expenses. And then if it's a positive number, I know that's a net income. If it's a negative number, then I know I lost. Okay? But again, you can kind of, if you do it the other way, then you're just figuring the positive and negative in the opposite way. That makes sense, what I'm saying there? Okay.
19,230.
Grand total was, no,
18,840.
18,840. So your total expenses should
Oh, I
be.
forgot the 390.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, you wanna go through H?
No.
No.
Anybody?
And
Alright. So, like I said, kind of an interesting process, right? And again, if you wanted to really get into the business aspect of it, you know, honestly, to me, doing this part of it every day, I don't know if that's exciting or not, but that's exciting to me in certain times. So what I'm saying is, if I was going to go through this and was going to try to get to one of these, I would want to be kind of either way, or both ways, I guess. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is I would want to